Treasury's so-called final report on Eskom's contract with Tegeta has been withdrawn. Finance Minister Malusi Gigaba has told Parliament that the report had been mistakenly marked as final. It may look like a comedy of errors, but the truth is quite tragic.
The bunch of documents released to the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, labelled as the final report on Tegeta, has reportedly been withdrawn, in turn confirming the allegations. But the damage has already been done. As feared by both Eskom and Tegeta, conclusions mostly based on unverified information in a half-baked report have made it to the headlines and public perception.
This actually becomes work that is quite untenable for us when a draft report becomes a final report, because it becomes a public opinion.
Only those portions have been taken which were suitable to National Treasury, and the other portions which explain those objections have been completely ignored.
He blatantly created things from this with some other intentions which we don't know.
The villains or the victims, depending on how you choose to see it, have been put in the dock sans proof.
Now let's take a look at some of the reasons why it may be that the report was withdrawn. Now, looking at the report, what they say is that there is no evidence that the CFO Gogo advised board tender committee that Tegeta had a shortfall of 150,000 tons for only 2 months. Now, it's because it's inaccurate, because Tegeta says that there was no shortfall. Figures are inaccurate. And now, the report says no evidence that CFO conducted due diligence to establish if it would be economical to procure coal from Tegeta. And now, it is inaccurate because Tegeta's discount of 3.5% resulted in a saving of 21.5 million rand for Eskom. And now the report says it's not clear if Anoj Singh, Gogo or any other official received any gratification. And now it's inaccurate because an observation that would only fuel the perception of illegality. And now the report says Eskom paid 19.69 rand for coal that should have cost 18.68 rand. Now, it is inaccurate because Treasury doesn't explain why it quotes these figures, as they find no mention in the contract. Now, those are some of the reasons that we have for you.
It was in 2015 that the Treasury commissioned the report to investigate whether Eskom followed proper tender processes when awarding the contracts to Tegeta. While that is yet to be established, the processes have definitely been flouted in the making of the report. It has been given to third parties even before being seen by Eskom and Tegeta. It was leaked on multiple occasions, sometimes without even bothering to wait for Eskom to submit its comments. The latest sequence of release and withdrawal only adds to a series of seemingly motivated leaks in order to feed the media with a narrative of some sort of unlawful behavior.
Well, certainly it is very questionable, because it happened yesterday, and we got a litany of questions that were suggestive of a report having been, within the whims of the business day, and that is actually just hours before our response is due back to the National Treasury. So the timing is quite fishy.
This is not the first time that this draft report has come out. This is maybe the second or the third time this draft report has come out. So if there isn't an intent from somebody in Treasury to actually do harm, then why is this draft report keep coming out? And this matter has been going on for a year and a half. And these questions have been asked and answered duly. And every time they come to us with a question, we give them the responses, and there's never someone that comes back and says, look, we're not quite happy with your response. Maybe you can clarify or broaden it. The report just comes out again, and it is just phrased differently, but the content is the same.
Not everything remains the same, though. Every subsequent version of the report gets more vicious and slanderous in content. More and more explanations and evidence submitted by Eskom and Tegeta gets disregarded.
Now, the report seems to fuel some perceptions of illegality. It says that investigate if CFO and Koko received any gratifications by accepting Dubai trips paid by the Guptas, as alleged by the hashtag Gupta Leaks. And it also says that investigate if Mr. Koko leaked any confidential information as alleged by the hashtag Gupta Leaks. And now the report says 2.1 billion rand fine for Optimum reduced for Tegeta. But now what is inaccurate about it is that the reduction after arbitration that Eskom doesn't control. Now the report says reduced fine has been kept confidential, but now it's inaccurate because Eskom has divulged the information.
The person that compiled this report was really actually trying to be malicious in a way that he did not understand the report or the CSA itself, and the things in the contract clearly shows that either he is incompetent and he is not able to understand this, the techno-commercial terms, or it means that definitely he's got a hidden agenda and he's trying to do some politically motivated stances.
Every time, whenever they asked any questions from us, we replied it to the best of our ability and to the best of their satisfaction. This is basically to make a perception in the public based on the so-called flimsy comments in the report, for which we have every answer to reply, and the intention is to malign the relationship between Tegeta and Eskom.
The malice was visible right from the inception, and the contents of the now withdrawn report put a stamp on seemingly dubious motives. Documents seen by ANN7 show how unverified and possibly manipulated emails have been given official weight by the government. The Treasury's conclusion, based on unverified leaked emails, remedial actions prescribed on the basis of media reports, insinuations made against Eskom bosses without any evidence, talks of deals relating to Transnet and Trillion beyond its scope of inquiry. Eskom and Tegeta have been crying foul, but their pleas are unlikely to be heard by those compiling the report.
Now here's what the report says. It says investigate why Eskom gave preferential treatment to Tegeta. And now it is inaccurate because Assumptive concludes Tegeta was given preferential treatment. And also both Eskom and Tegeta have denied any special treatment, and only further probe can determine if there was any wrongdoing. And now the report says determine the interest due and payable arising out of loan given to Tegeta. But now it has been clarified many times that 659 million rand wasn't a loan, but an advance used to augment capacity. And Treasury unilaterally concludes that the prepayment, a common trade practice, is a loan and should be repaid. And now establish if Eskom prejudiced Glencore by fining Optimum Coal Mine 2.1 billion rand. That's what the report says, and it's inaccurate because Optimum was fined for consistently supplying poor quality coal, and no question of prejudice, as Glencore's violation of contractual obligations led to the penalty.
When we did get allegations that the Tegeta coal is not up to standard, we did suspend the Tegeta contract in, I think, August 2016. And we investigated those allegations, and we had to send coal to the South African Bureau of Standards to verify if the allegations are correct. And when the coal came back from the South African Bureau of Standards, we lifted the suspension on Tegeta. So Tegeta did not get special treatment. We did suspend at some point.
Increasingly, the public is aware of what you as the board of Eskom are doing and not doing. They are increasingly aware that you are abusing state property and state resources in the name of yourselves, not in the name of the South African public.
You know, this is a perception that's in the market, and it's something that, you know, today, if I have the opportunity, I really want to close this matter. I think that if you've been following the stories, you would see that definitely Eskom has turned back trucks from Ajuba with my coal on it, with supposedly wrong qualities. I talked about the price which I am getting from Eskom. I mean, I'm 13 Rand 50, 8 Rand 50, 18 Rand gigajoule. I mean, these prices are the lowest in the market. I mean, where is my favorite relationship with Eskom that they're talking about? I mean, I'm actually losing money supplying coal to Eskom. It is not that I'm unthankful for the business. I just, you know, there's this terminology that they say that Eskom favors us. I would really like to understand how is it done. I mean, if they talk about that the money was prepaid for us in terms for the delivery of R0. I mean, this is what's happening to all of the mines. And not in millions, in billions, the mines get paid prepaid for capital and capital expenditure for the cost plus mines. So I really don't see where we've been favoured. I mean, even if they do prepay, they take 3.5% discount from the money, which is where Eskom normally stipulates 2% on a prepayment. They take 3.5%. So in every clause where we have, we are never able to get to what anybody else is getting. So I really struggle to see where does Eskom favour. And furthermore to that, we said to Eskom, due to all the pressures and you know, the allegations going around, we asked them, we requested them, we said we would really like to terminate all our relationships with you, and of course not with immediate effect, give you time to build up capacity, but you know, let's terminate the relationship. And the answer from them was no. And the reason for that was it's a purely commercial decision which they wanted to make. On that, I mean, they saved, just on the R0 transaction, you know, they saved over 700 million Rand in 5 months. Now, everybody would be happy with somebody that saved 700 million Rand in 5 months. I mean, and even just if you look at all the suppliers, if you compare us to just the small marginal 15% supplier mines, you know, the small BEE mines, they're saving about 1.2 to 2 billion a year just on these mines. If you had to compare us to the 85% mines, the big, the Glencores and the Exaros, in that, you would see where we're getting paid a measly 13 Rand a CV across the companies, you know. These companies are getting paid more than 50 Rand a CV. So you would see that there's more than a 10 billion Rand saving by buying coal from us.
It has taken the Treasury 24 months to come up with a compilation of allegations, mostly based on media reports and leaked emails. The making of this report may only end up exposing its author for the alleged single-minded pursuit of painting Eskom and Tegeta as corrupt. Anyhow, unless the actual final updated report that Minister Gigaba promises to furnish in mid-August is factual and final.
Well, let's open up this topic for discussion. Joining me in studio this evening is Mr. Jackie Shandu, who is a political commentator. Mr. Tsepo Khadima will be joining us via the phone line. He is a political analyst. And also joining us on the phone line is the CEO of Oakbay, Mr. George van der Merwe. Good evening to you, Mr. van der Merwe. I'm going to start with you. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. I just want clarity with regards to whether or not you received a copy of this report, and whether or not, if you did, were you under the impression that that report was indeed final?
Hi, Abigail. I just want to say hello to the fellow people in the studio. To get back to your question, yes, we did receive a copy of the report. However, I think our opinion was still as what it was first when the draft came out. We really think I don't think it's finished at all yet.
And the fact that it was marked as final, did that not then raise eyebrows after stating that your opinion was that it was not completed as yet?
It did. It very much did. But I think the finance minister did well yesterday by retracting it. I think they were leaving themselves up for some serious problems if they did not retract it. I think that maybe somebody senior on their side had actually took the time to read the report and see that it was still the same as what the draft report was, and based on innuendos and inaccuracies. And I think that maybe they want to take the time to actually fix this report.
So, Mr. van der Merwe, listening to you, I'm gathering that you are happy and not concerned that this report has been withdrawn.
No, I'm not saying I'm happy. We would all like this matter to come to a conclusion. I mean, we have to look, what is the real function of a report? A report is something that is based on fact. It is something that is compiled by a person, that is expert in the field, and it's something that we can all learn from. And if in any case there was a mistake, or that we can put practices in place not to repeat it. But the report which was produced, it looked more like a media campaign, or maybe something of speculation, or something with a different agenda. And I think that is the part that bothers us.
Mr. van der Merwe, just stay on the line for us. We want to continue talking to and engaging with you a little bit later. But let's come to studio. Joining me now is Mr. Jackie Shandu. Jackie, I just want to get your view and your opinion. This report had been marked as final. The minister had come forward and stated that it was mistakenly marked as final. It has now been withdrawn. No doubt it's raised a couple of eyebrows. Your view?
Well, we are inclined to believe that perhaps the Minister of Finance has been prudent to make sure that those precautions are taken, that you don't have a report whose contents the Treasury itself is not confident on, based on what we've heard, that there is some information within the report that is inaccurate, that is unverified. And looking at that and the potential legal implications in this kind of economy, we would not want a situation where the state is sued, because it has wrongfully accused a company, a private company, for having defrauded or whatever the case may be. So we are saying let's have that time to make sure that the contents of the report is authentic, it has been checked, and by the time it goes into the public and it is final, that there are no implications that are only going to cause the state even more cost in terms of the monies that it might have to pay to the other party. But also, we must comment about this opportunism by the media, of course, highly aligned to white monopoly capital, to even start making a lot of propositions, a lot of assumptions, a lot of suggestions about the contents of the report, and attempting to cast aspersions also on the minister as to why he has decided to withdraw.
A lot of unanswered questions in that regard. Let's just get another view and another opinion coming through this evening. We are joined on the phone line by Mr. Tshepo Khadima, political analyst. Good evening to you, Mr. Khadima. I just want to get your view with regards to this report now being withdrawn by the Minister of Finance.
Look, certainly I think this is a development that we should all welcome, that the minister has taken that decision, because what we have seen here is that in the little while back, we've really seen a situation in South Africa where there has been investigations where there is no crime. There has been hysteria where there are no facts to support such hysteria. And there has been conviction where there hasn't been any trial howsoever. So effectively you have here a report that was marked final, which should never have been, and it could never have stood the required objective test in the court of law, and hence it had to be withdrawn. But one can only deduce that the report in the first instance was compiled with one objective in mind, and that was of a witch hunt and character assassination.
So, Mr. Khadima, I'm going to have to interject there. We are quickly running out of time. I just want to go back to Mr. van der Merwe. Mr. van der Merwe, just lastly, coming back to you, what are your expectations then from that final report? It is expected around mid-August. Just talk us through the expectation from Oak Bay side.
Abigail, I would really like a report that is something that is based on fact, something that is not based on speculations or propaganda. I would, and as well as something that has been proven. and has been prepared by a competent person, and the inputs of course, ourselves and Tegeta, who are, of course, stakeholders in this report, it should be taken into consideration. And if there is any misunderstanding by the Treasury, they should maybe ask or get a third party to intervene and explain the terms to them, because they clearly don't understand it. And any report like this, as my learned colleagues said, could have serious legal implications for them.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much, Mr. van der Merwe, for joining us this evening. I want to thank all of our guests. Unfortunately, we've run out of time this evening. Mr. Shandu, thank you very much for joining us. That was Jackie Shandu, political commentator. Joining us on the phone lines was George van der Merwe, the CEO of Oak Bay Resources, as well as political analyst Mr. Tsepo Khadima. From myself, Abigail Fasahi, and the team, thank you very much for tuning in. ANN7 Prime is up next. Enjoy. Good night.